Ever been so scared to check your bank account you'd rather face a zombie apocalypse? Picture this. Our friend Bob, a man of simple tastes, wakes up one morning with a burning desire to buy a boat. Yes, a boat! Can he afford it? He's not sure, but he's got a credit card, and that's good enough for him. So off he goes, strutting into the boat dealership like a man on a mission, and before you know it, he's the proud owner of a shiny new watercraft. Now, here's where the story takes a turn. The next day, Bob wakes up, not to the soothing sounds of ocean waves, but to the cold, hard reality of his bank balance. Or rather, his lack of balance. He's so terrified to check his account after his maritime spending spree that he'd rather face a horde of hungry zombies than see the damages. But let's pause Bob's story for a moment. Why do we get so scared to look at our bank accounts? Is it the fear of the unknown, the dread of being confronted with our poor spending decisions? Or perhaps it's just the simple primal fear of not having enough. Whatever it is, it's real, and it's something we've all experienced at one point or another. The truth is, keeping track of your spending and having a budget isn't as terrifying as it sounds. It's simply about being aware of your financial situation and making informed decisions. It's about asking yourself, can I actually afford this boat, before you go swiping that credit card? Going back to our friend Bob, he learned his lesson the hard way, but we can all take a page from his book. Being in control of your financial situation is empowering, it's freeing, and it's definitely less scary than facing a zombie apocalypse. So remember, keeping an eye on your bank account is less scary than facing a zombie apocalypse, and cheaper than buying a boat you can't afford. Ever thought of investing as a ride on a roller coaster that only goes down? Let's admit it, the fear of investing can feel like that sometimes. I mean, who hasn't heard those horror stories of people losing their life savings in a blink? Take, for instance, our friend Linda. Linda, bless her heart, thought investing in a llama farm was a sure bet. Yes, you heard it right, a llama farm. Linda was convinced llamas were the future. She'd say, llamas are the new alpacas and alpacas are the new gold. And so, Linda sunk her savings into a llama farm. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I see the correlation between fluffy South American creatures and a solid investment strategy. But hey, to each their own, right? Unfortunately for Linda, the llama market didn't boom as she'd hoped. Instead, it went the way of the dodo, and Linda's investment followed suit. But let's not chuckle too hard at Linda's misfortune. After all, the fear of ending up like Linda is what keeps many of us from venturing into the world of investing. It's a scary prospect, putting your hard-earned money into something that might just poof into thin air. The good news is, investing doesn't have to be a gamble. It's not about betting on the next big llama trend. It's about doing your homework. It's about understanding the market, studying trends, and making informed decisions. It's about diversification, spreading your investments across different types of assets to reduce risk. And it's about patience. Investments take time to grow. So, before you go investing in the next llama farm or some other seemingly sure bet, remember to do your research, understand the market, and most importantly, don't let fear stop you from making your money work for you. Always remember, investing should be more about making informed decisions, less about llama drama. Ever thought your piggy bank would be your retirement plan? Now, that might sound a bit absurd, but let's dive into a story that's equally humorous, yet a bit alarming. Meet John, a man who believed his rare soda can collection would make him a millionaire by the time he retired. John spent years collecting these soda cans, believing each one was a miniature gold mine. He'd daydream about cashing them in, buying a beachfront property and spending his golden years sipping drinks from, you've guessed it, a soda can. Funny, isn't it? But let's face it, we all have our unique versions of John's soda can fantasy, whether it's winning the lottery or finding a treasure chest in our backyard. However, the reality is often less glamorous. Retirement savings, or the fear of not having enough, is a common dread that can keep us up at night. It's like that ghastly monster under the bed when we were kids, except now the monster has a name: insufficient funds. The truth is, there's no magic soda can that will fund your retirement, but don't let that dampen your spirits. The key to a comfortable retirement is not a rare soda can collection, but rather starting to save early and consistently. It's like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time, today. So, start today. Even if it's just a small amount, start putting money aside. Think of it as paying your future self. And remember, it's not about how much you earn, but how much you save and invest. Retirement saving is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's about persistence and discipline. It's about making those small, consistent contributions that over time will grow into a substantial nest egg. And before you know it, you'll have your own version of a beachfront property with plenty of actual soda cans to enjoy. So let's raise a toast to starting early, saving consistently, and facing the fear of retirement savings head-on. Soda cans might be a collector's dream, but they're not your ticket to a dream retirement. What's scarier than a horror movie? You're mounting debt. But don't worry, you're not alone in this spooky financial journey. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Clara. Clara, bless her heart, thought she'd hit the jackpot when she bought a haunted house at a dirt cheap price. Little did she know she was about to face her own financial horror story. Picture this. Clara, excited about her new home, moves in only to find out the ghosts were not keen on having a new roommate. So, Clara does what any reasonable person would do. She calls in the exorcists, but oh boy, she did not see the invoices coming. The exorcism fees started to pile up, turning her bargain house into a money pit. Those pesky poltergeists ended up costing her more than she'd bargained for. This might sound like a plot straight out of a horror film, but it's not too different from what can happen when we fail to understand the terms of our loans and how they can add up. Just like Clara, we can find ourselves facing unexpected costs and spiraling into debt. So how do we avoid our own financial horror story? First, it's important to understand the fine print of our loans. How much is the interest rate? What's the repayment period? What happens if you miss a payment? These are all crucial questions we need to ask before taking on debt. Next, we need to create a plan to pay off our debt. This might involve setting aside a certain amount of money each month, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, or finding additional sources of income. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate all debt overnight, but to manage it in a way that's sustainable and doesn't leave us haunted by regret. In the end, Clara managed to exorcise her home and learned a valuable lesson about understanding the true cost of her decisions. Let's learn from Clara's experience and face our financial fears head-on. After all, haunted houses may be cheap, but the exorcism fees, now that's a real nightmare. Ever thought that financial planning is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded? Now let's talk about the fear of financial planning. It's like a mythical creature lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce. But really, it's not as terrifying as it sounds. Picture this. There's a man named John. John wins the lottery. He's over the moon with joy, thinking about all the things he can buy. A mansion, a fancy car, a yacht, maybe even his own island. But then he realizes he has no idea how to manage all this money. He thinks financial planning is about planning how to spend his lottery winnings. So he goes on a spending spree, buying everything he ever dreamed of. But here's the twist. John runs out of money faster than he thought. He didn't plan for the taxes, the upkeep costs, or the fact that his lottery winnings weren't a renewable resource. Now, we're not saying you're going to win the lottery and blow it all like John. But this humorous tale serves as a cautionary example of what can happen without proper financial planning. Financial planning is about more than just figuring out how to spend money. It's about setting financial goals, budgeting, saving, investing, and ensuring you have a safety net for the future. It's about being prepared for unexpected expenses and making sure you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Some people fear financial planning because it seems complicated. There are so many terms to learn, so many decisions to make, but remember, you don't have to do it alone. If you're feeling overwhelmed, consider seeking help from a financial advisor. They can help you make sense of your financial situation and guide you towards your financial goals. So, don't let the fear of financial planning scare you away from taking control of your financial future. Embrace it, learn from it, and use it as a tool to build a secure and prosperous future. So, financial planning isn't about counting your chickens before they hatch. It's about making sure you have chickens to count. Ever found talking about money more awkward than walking in on your parents' romantic dinner? Well, you're not alone in this boat. In fact, this boat is so crowded we might need a bigger one. Let's take a hilarious trip down memory lane to the story of a couple. Let's call them Bob and Alice. Bob and Alice decided in a stroke of absolute genius to discuss their finances using only mime. Yes, you heard that right. Mime. Now imagine Bob trying to explain his credit card debt using only hand gestures. It looked like a cross between a man being chased by a swarm of bees and an interpretative dance about the horrors of consumerism. Alice, on the other hand, attempted to convey her student loans with a performance that looked like a mime stuck in an invisible box, then falling down an invisible hole. Needless to say, their mime-only financial meeting was a hilarious disaster. They ended up more confused about their finances than before and had a newfound appreciation for the power of words. Jokes aside, this story highlights a very real fear many of us have: talking about money. Whether it's with our partners, family, or financial advisors, we often find these conversations more daunting than a mime attempting to explain quantum physics. But here's the catch. Open and honest communication about finances is crucial. It's like the foundation for a financially secure future. Without it, we're just mimes in an invisible box. We need to talk about our incomes, our debts, our investments, and our financial goals. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. Think about it. Would you rather face the temporary discomfort of a money talk or mime your way through a financial disaster? Not such a tough choice now, is it? So let's break the mime act. Let's start talking about money openly and honestly. It might feel awkward at first, but remember, even the best mimes have to start somewhere. Money talks don't have to be a mime show. Open up the conversation. It's less awkward than you think. So, what have we learned today? Other than the fact that llama farms and rare soda cans are not solid investment strategies? We've taken a deep dive into the murky waters of financial fears, and we've found that despite the chilly initial plunge, the swimming isn't so bad. We've explored the fear of checking your bank account, and we've learned that knowledge is power. Regularly checking your account is not about confronting a monster under your bed, but about keeping your finger on the pulse of your financial health. Remember, you can't manage what you don't measure. We've also tackled the fear of investing, and we've discovered that while the stock market is not a get-rich-quick scheme, it's also not a high-stakes poker game. It's a tool, one of many at our disposal, to grow our wealth over time. We've underscored the importance of research, understanding risk tolerance, and taking a measured approach to investing. So, no, don't put all your eggs in the llama farm basket. Then there's the fear of retirement savings, that distant horizon that seems so far off, yet creeps closer every day. We've learned that it's never too early to start saving for retirement, and every bit counts. Compound interest is your friend here, and time is your greatest asset. So start early, save consistently, and watch your nest egg grow. We've confronted the fear of debt head-on, and we've affirmed that debt is not a scary monster but a fact of life. The key is understanding good debt versus bad debt and managing it effectively. It's about knowing when to leverage debt as a tool and when to avoid it like the plague. We've also navigated the fear of financial planning, and we've concluded that it doesn't have to be as daunting as climbing Mount Everest. With a clear vision, realistic goals, and a solid plan, you can take control of your financial future. It's not about predicting every financial storm, but about building a ship sturdy enough to weather whatever comes your way. Lastly, we've addressed the fear of talking about money. We've learned that money is not a taboo topic, but a necessary conversation. It's about fostering open and honest discussions, building financial literacy, and breaking down the barriers that hold us back. In conclusion, facing your financial fears is not about banishing the boogeyman, but about shining a light into the shadows, understanding what lurks there, and taking control. It's about making informed decisions, taking measured risks, and embracing the journey. After all, financial wellness is not a destination, but a journey, and it's one that we're all on together. Remember, facing your financial fears is like playing hide and seek with a toddler. It might seem scary, but once you find them, it's actually pretty funny. If you found this video useful, please click that subscribe button. We are dedicated to educating you on your personal finances. Your help is deeply appreciated.